Hey, I'm Harry, or Zimang, as you might know me by my channel name. I've made like a few videos in the past, like just in Japanese, like just creating content like that. But I thought I might make a video just kind of detailing my experiences learning Japanese, and just the kind of general timeline of how long it took me to get to where I'm at today. And yeah, so yeah, I just kind of realized I hadn't really done that yet, and I would like to explain that and just like hear people's opinions on what I did and see if anyone has some of like similar experiences or opinions that I have with learning Japanese. So I started learning Japanese in maybe like I think probably October last year, not last year, October 2018, and yeah, maybe for a month before that or so, I tried to learn it through just just like bullshit like videos on YouTube that's like talking about grammar and all that, using a little bit of Takein, but I didn't really know what I was doing. And that's about the time when I like found Matt versus Japan's videos, and I watched a heap of them, and kind of got the idea that the way to approach learning a language is through immersion. And so I looked at all these things with RTK and all that. So I started RTK in October 2018, and spent about I think 2 months or so on that. And yeah, then from there I went and I decided that I wanted to do the JLPT N1 of in July 2019 was when I aimed to do it. And so yeah, up until then, from finishing RTK, I just learned words and did a heap of immersion. I learned words at this time because I was aiming just to pass that test. I learned the words through the jisho.org. I got that, and I filtered the words by like their JLPT levels and just went through and learned all the ones on the site that were in the JLPT kind of categories, and I learned all of them up to JLPT N1. I just made sentence cards with them on Anki, and yeah, from there I was doing like at my peak I think like 60 cards a day, which I don't think is efficient or a good idea, but that's just what I thought it would take for me to get through all of them by July of the next year. And I thought if I know the words, at least I can probably manage to pass the test still. So I did that, and the reviews were just fucking ridiculous, and yeah, did that for like ages. Like I was doing it like for hours and hours every single day, reviews and adding cards and stuff. I barely even slept, which is just not a good idea. But then as well, other than just that, I was doing immersion. Maybe like I'd wake up in the morning, put my headphones in, listen to podcasts, go to school, because I was in year 12 at the time. And so I would go to school, while listening to podcasts, and then when I get home, I'd go home and just watch a heap of YouTube and stuff. And yeah, so then I did the test in July. I ended up passing that, which was, fucking surprised myself with that one. And then from there, I took a break from doing any words or reviews or anything, or even really any immersion for a couple months, because I had my high school exams until like November, December-ish of 2019. And then when I came back to doing my reviews, I had like a ridiculous amount because I was adding 60 a day and I hadn't reviewed them for that many months. So I had like 2,000 or something ridiculous reviews. So I thought, well, fuck this, I'm just going to delete it. So I just deleted my whole deck, started over again. And then this time I actually was doing, the intelligent thing of just getting cards and making them from, my immersion, like YouTube and all that stuff. Then in January, I went to, I went to Japan in January of 2020, and that was really awesome. Met up with a heap of Japanese friends and stuff I'd made along my kind of journey of learning Japanese. And then since I got back, I've been focusing more on MMA and things like that. And I just did a lot of output after then and immersed with whatever like I was interested in. It wasn't anything really structured. But yeah, so the way I did RTK initially is if I was to go back and do it again, I'd do it a completely different way. I don't think I did it in a very like efficient way or any good way, but I put on the front of the Anki card, I put the word from the RTK one, like for the kanji, and then on the back I just put the kanji itself. and I'd try and write it from memory. And so obviously that's, you know, kind of ridiculous. So like it took me ages to get, like a lot longer to get through it with like more hours every day than I could have spent. Like I could have really made it more efficient just by, you know, putting the kanji on the front of the card and just trying to recall the meaning of it. And if I was to, you know, suggest someone how to do RTK now, that's probably what I'd tell them to do it. I wish I did it that way. I think it would have been a lot more efficient. And yeah, I just went through the first, you know, 2000 or so, like just RTK1. I just went through that, and then from there, and then also what I immersed with was like mainly I'd say 95% of my immersion came from YouTube and podcasts. So initially, when I started watching YouTube, I didn't know any Japanese YouTubers, but I liked YouTube just because the YouTube videos are short, and I didn't like watching too many things that are long because I just get bored because I don't understand anything. So I wanted to just find like real short things that were kind of interesting that I could just kind of like flick through, maybe watch 1 minute of a video and just change videos every minute. And so I started with Mahoto. I don't know if you guys know him, but he got arrested and he's like a bit of a piece of shit, but he was fine back then, and I watched a lot of his videos because they were just kind of entertaining, even if I didn't understand it. And he spoke about real basic shit, so it wasn't too difficult, like to get a decent understanding of it. Then from there, I moved on to the group YouTuber Tokai On Air, and they were pretty good because, you know, it's a group of people talking. So not only did I just get to practice my immersion and all of that, and just like increase my ability to like understand things, I also, you know, I also got to learn about like the kind of way Japanese people conversate in a group, and just like the kind of general rhythm of conversation and all of that. And I feel like that helped a lot with just improving not only in my ability to like understand the language itself, but also like how it should be spoken and like the general kind of rhythm of it and all of that. From there, this is when I started to get like a pretty decent amount of like understanding. So I started watching just things that I understood, like, so anything that I understood was entertaining rather than the content itself being entertaining. It was just the fact that I could understand it, which made it interesting for me. So I started watching, like, I don't know if you guys would know Miki Pong and Saya, which are they're like makeup YouTubers. And yeah, normally, obviously, you can probably tell, but I wouldn't be watching, you know, makeup tutorials and shit. But it was easy to understand, so it was kind of entertaining, even if I didn't like the content itself. It's just like the fact that I could understand it was super entertaining for me. Then from there, when I actually got like a decent amount of understanding, I found Represent and that's when I really started watching like a heap of their videos, because it was kind of what I was looking for, like these kind of YouTubers from the start. So I found Represent and like Hikaru, Asakura Mikuru, and YY. Like YY is a gaming channel that I really liked, and like I really immersed, you know, just with them fucking constantly, like every day, just like listening to them for hours and hours. And so that's what I'd watch after, you know, like when I was doing my study for the JLPT, I'd watch that after school and stuff. And I just kind of have that going while I was doing words or things like that. And I kind of kept watching those kind of for like Represent, Hikaru, Asakura Mikuru, and YY. I watched them a lot, even after I finished the JLPT. And they're just kind of ones I ended up watching because I just liked their videos. And yeah, and then on podcast is kind of what I used in between times where I couldn't be sitting down and, you know, watching YouTube on my phone or something. I'd have just my earphones in listening to podcasts. And I understood like fucking nothing of them, like, because I think I used, like, at the beginning especially, I used just a lot of the visual cues to understand things, what was going on in YouTube videos. So with the podcasts, I kind of just have the general ones that I listened to was Honda Ken no Jinsei Soudan, and then there was Osaka no Ippanjin ni yoru podcast. Then one more that I listened to quite a bit, which was 恋愛婚活の専門家ジュリの野獣でも美女を捕まえるテクニック. So yeah, just like a bunch of shit like that, because like I didn't understand it for the majority of the time I was learning Japanese. They were just good audio quality and like pretty easy to listen to, so I just have them on. And yeah, so on the topic of like output, so I outputted, like, honestly, like pretty much right from the start. As soon as I finished RTK, I didn't really input too much to RTK, but like once I finished, I started really inputting with, like, you know, immersing in YouTube and shit. But after that, I got HelloTalk, and I don't know if you guys know HelloTalk, but HelloTalk, you know, you connect with Japanese people who learn in English. And so I was using that just to meet Japanese people and try and make some friends. And I made some like really good friends from there that I'm still friends with today. But quite a few of them didn't know any English at all, pretty much. So I kind of was not forced, but I chose to speak Japanese with them. So pretty much right from the start, I was like speaking Japanese to the best that I could. I was shit, like absolutely terrible, but like I just did my best to speak. And I know the kind of general consensus is that you shouldn't speak because you don't want to mess up your accent and grammar and things, but I don't really know if it made that much of a difference. Like, I don't know if I'd be that much better if I didn't speak early, right from the start. Because I feel like, if you look at my other YouTube videos which are in Japanese, you might say, well, yeah, look, you sound a bit ridiculous, like a bit fucking stupid. But the reason for that, in my opinion, is rather than the fact that I sound, the reason I sound weird in those isn't because of my actual Japanese ability. It's more so because I'm not used to talking to a camera, and then also I just overthought everything when I'm speaking. So it just kind of ended up, I sound like a fucking robot speaking, so it just kind of sounded weird. You'll probably see in the future, I'm going to upload some more videos with my Japanese friends, just like, because one of them's about to start YouTube, so I'm going to make some videos with her and just, about some like topics with English and Japanese and cultural differences and all that shit. But you'll probably see then, because it'll be in Japanese, that my Japanese level is a lot higher than what is shown in my other videos. It's the same thing with, Matt versus Japan, I think, is that, videos where he's speaking on his own don't sound as good as when he's speaking with someone else. Like, I feel like it's just a bit, he sounds like, he really shines in his ability when he's making a video with someone else talking in Japanese. That's, I feel like, when he's really shows how good he is. And I feel like the same thing with me. My videos where I'm talking by myself, I was writing scripts and shit for them because I just didn't know what to say. I'd just be like, lose my train of thought constantly. Even with this video, this is like my 5th time filming it because I keep rambling on about random things. So yeah, I don't know if my LE output really made that much of a difference to my Japanese ability. To be honest, I think it just helped, if anything. I'd like to know if you guys would disagree with me. Like, that'd be really, I'd like to, discuss about that and see what you guys think. But for me, I think it didn't make much of a difference to my actual Japanese ability. And yeah, so I put it right from the start, constantly, almost. Not like a huge amount, but like, a week I'd be speaking at least 3 hours. And that was right from the start. But then after that, I was actually longer. Like, I'd be speaking sometimes like 3-4 hours a day on the phone because I just had some close friends I was talking to. And that was until I finished my year 12 exams. And then after that, I just spoke constantly, trying to make friends for when I went to Japan. And I went to Japan and met a heap of my friends, and that was just awesome. Got to get shown around by them, and I met Asakura Mikuru from, like, one of my friends introduced me to him because they're friends. And yeah, since then though, especially last year, like 2020, I just, like, all I was doing was outputting. Like, I'd be calling with friends and just constantly outputting like hours and hours a day. Like, I don't know if that would be considered a good thing, but my ability to speak Japanese, like, really drastically improved from that point onwards. Like, just, like, I guess that's probably because, like, I built up my understanding of the language the year prior, and then from there I was able to, like, build up my potential to be good at speaking, and then I like achieved that potential in the year after. So maybe if I went back and immersed more now, I could increase my potential, and then therefore when I started speaking more again, I'd increase my actual ability. I'm not sure, but I've been getting, like, way better recently just from speaking heaps. And even though I spoke from the start, I think my accent and that isn't really that affected. You'll probably see in my newer videos when I put them out, like, what I mean, but yeah. And then on topic of pitch accent, so when I speak Japanese, it's like I speak pretty strong Kansai Ben, like, dialect. In my videos, again, like the older ones, you can't really see it that much because, like, I was writing scripts and overthinking shit. It just, like, sounded weird. But yeah, so I speak a lot. I speak in Kansai Ben, and from the start I was always interested in it and wanted to speak in it. So yeah, I started learning pitch accent though through, like, Dogen's series on pitch accent, and just went through all of his series and learned from that. Then of course I've also got this, this I used and read, like, that kind of, like, explanation of it, but obviously that's for a different dialect, so it's useful but not perfect. And so from there, I learnt maybe like the Shojungo pronunciation, like the standard Japanese like pitch accent for maybe 1,000 words, like the most common ones. But then I thought, okay, well that's cool, but now what am I gonna do? I want to speak Kansai Ben, so what am I gonna do? So a lot of my friends were from Kansai, and so I just went to them and I had a list like there's that Anki deck with all the pitch accents. I can't remember where that's from, but so I got that and just I made went through and asked, like, got everything from that list and started asking my friends, like, how do you say this, and got them to say the word, and I'd write down the pitch accent pattern from that. And then I'd really try and listen out for it when I was listening to Kansai Ben, like in videos, like, Kansai like YouTubers and stuff I'd listen to, and try and pick out how they sounded and like the intonation, like pitch accent. And I think that's where my ability to pick up pitch accent really improved, because I was thinking about it so much, listening, not because I wanted to get good at pitch accent, but because I wanted to get good at the dialect. And I thought, well, I'm gonna have to have the pitch accent of that dialect. So I ended up just listening constantly, trying to pick up pitch accent in that way. So I think that's why my ability to pick up pitch accent got pretty decent pretty quickly, is because of that, because I was like constantly focusing on it while I was listening. And yeah, I think that's probably the main reason. But even from the start, before I really even knew what pitch accent was, I was starting to pick up differences in the dialect's pitch accent without even really knowing that's what it was. Like, I remember listening to a song once and the singer said something like Naiyan, and I thought, like, that sounds like Kansai Ben, like not the actual, like, sticking yang at the end, like Naiyan. Like, I thought Nai sounds like Kansai, and I didn't know why. But now I know, because of the pitch accent differences from Hyojungo, that's why it's different. But yeah, so I thought that's pretty interesting. That's how that's my experience with pitch accent. And so on the topic of so why I actually learned Japanese is I started doing judo. My dad got me into it when I was a kid, and like I've always done judo since I was a kid, and obviously that made me interested in Japan and like martial arts and all of that. And I kind of was always interested in Japan because of that. I was interested in learning Japanese, but I was so young, I didn't really know how to do it at that point, so I waited until I got a lot older. And what else? Oh, another thing is that after I just finished RTK, or like towards the end of it, there was a fight in Rizin, like the Japanese MMA organization, between Tenshin and Floyd Mayweather. And I saw Floyd's fighting him, and I was like, oh, who's this guy, whatever. And then I watched it, and I was watching because I'm trying to immerse and stuff as well. This was like one of the few times I actually was listening to anything in Japanese while I was doing RTK. But I watched like all the behind the scenes kind of footage. Didn't have a fucking clue what they're saying, but like watched it all, like all the Japanese fighters interacting and kind of the community of fighters there. And I thought, wow, that's amazing, because I always wanted to be a fighter, like an MMA fighter. I thought, fuck, that's what I want to be, like that's where I want to end up. So that really became a lot of my motivation to learn Japanese, is not just I thought I want to be able to get into Rizin one day, and I feel like knowing Japanese and being able to speak at the level I can now would be a huge advantage to be able to get in there. And now all I have to work on mainly is my actual fighting ability. So and then with my YouTube channel, the reason I actually have it originally, the reason I made it was because I wanted to like build up an audience like of Japanese people, and I thought by the time my actual MMA ability is good enough to be in Rizin, I'll probably have a decent enough following on YouTube that it will act as kind of a pathway for me to be able to get into Rizin. And so still that's what I kind of plan to do, but I'd also like to make some videos like this, or just like on the topic of like learning Japanese or learning languages and things like that. I thought that would be, I'd like to make some videos on that as well, because it's another one of my interests. And also with like immersion and stuff, I never actually read any books. Like I read bits and pieces, but I never like full on read through like any like novels or anything like that. If anything, it was like non-fiction I read a little bit of, but never like full books. And I don't know, I'm curious to see your guys' experience like in learning Japanese, and hear if it's made like a huge impact on your ability to output. Like I obviously I've heard like Matt and stuff talk about it, and talk about how good it is, but I'd really like to hear other people's opinions as well on how much it's helped them, just to see if it's really worth me going back and like really starting to properly read some books and like see if maybe that'll help me improve quite a bit. And yeah, also, have you any of you like outputted like right from the start, and do you think it made a big impact on your you know, ability to speak? Like, do you think it damaged your accent or damaged your grammar or anything like that? I'd be really interested to know if you either think the same way I do, where it doesn't make a huge difference, or whether it makes, you know, all the difference, whether it like really completely just destroys your accent. I'd be really interested to know like some other people's experiences in that. And yeah, like I said, I'd like to make some more videos along these lines, like on the topic of Japanese learning and all of that. I feel like I have a lot of experience that I can like share, and a lot of ways I could probably, you know, help people who are just kind of getting into it or have only been doing it for a year or something like that. So if you have any questions, leave it in the comments. I might make a video on it, or like just answer it in the comments. But yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. I'm interested to hear you guys, like what you think about how I learned Japanese, and hear some of your experiences too. Thanks.